What's up, YouTube? So I got asked if the Bee Gees had to stop after the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, would their legacy been secured? I believe so. Even though the Spirits have fallen have came out in '79 and Love You Inside Out was a big hit, still one of the coldest vamps ever. I'm a huge Bee Gees fan. Love their stuff, and of course they wrote other songs, including "Islands in the Streams" for Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, and "Heartbreaker" for Dionne Warwick. They had other hits. Guilty album with Barry Gibb and Barbara Streisand. They had other hits, but and of course they worked with Andy, their brother Andy. But had they stopped at the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack with, You Should Be Dancing and Staying Alive and How Deep Is Your Love, had they stopped with that, as big as that record was, the other legacy was secured. They really didn't have to do anything else after that. It almost was pretty much the end because when everybody went on a Against Disco crusade and all that, they were one of the ones who took the hit. And they had to really go underground and just was giving their songs away to other artists because to them to be seen, they weren't given the same. Obviously, when they did the Staying Alive soundtrack, the John Travolta movie, came out in '82, Far From Over was a bigger song with Frank Stallone. Far From Over was a big hit. They did The Woman in You. That was a hit that they had, but it was nothing like their heyday. And so sometimes you hit it big and then and that's something that's interesting because soundtracks, sometimes if they're big, they can almost overshadow your career because they're one of them that happened to. That great wall of divide. Because you can make the case that happened with Isaac Hayes with Shaft, with Curtis Mayfield with Superfly, Prince with Purple Rain. The soundtrack was so big that, and everything it encompasses is that people almost forget everything that you did after. And that was a thing about with the Bee Gees because this thing was so big that it took a whole different level in totality. But there were singer songwriters and they wrote songs and they had impact, and so we were gonna still be heard. But that was kind of like the mothership. That kind of was the one that blew it up. So it's a good question. Would they have been able to, weather that storm? And it's kind of hard to say because when you take that all consideration, but it was huge. It was very huge. Um, you know, I just think about when I remember that soundtrack. I remember what they were like and how they reinvented themselves. And when they got on that groove, Errol Mardine, who's the producer,